It is 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's March, of course, and we're halfway towards the longest day, can you believe it? So it's bright, you know, it's a bright light, even though it's only early 8 o'clock. Sunrise was already 80 minutes ago. It's -1, and I'm at just, well, Loch Laggan is just there. That is the Craig Meggie Massif, looking just unbelievable at the moment. God, it's warm. I'm warming up. There's not much wind down here, and I'm actually getting quite hot. Today, actually, hang on. No, I'm gonna derobe first, and I'll carry on. My main objective of today, I suppose, my primary plan, my plan A, was to get up Geal Charn, which is, you can't actually see it. It's over there somewhere. It's a big, rounded lump that's going to be heavily laden with snow, so I did think it might be too much today, given I haven't really been walking in snow this winter. Usually I'd have spent the last few months trudging through snow and would have built up the fitness. Because I haven't got that fitness, I'm quite conscious of that would be restrictive. It's a sort of day when, and a sort of conditions where I've brought everything. Lots of layers, ice axe and crampons, snowshoes, poles. So I've got quite a heavy pack as it is. So I thought they might be pushing it to get up Geal Charn. That being the case, the plan B is to go up Craig Petrie, which is a munro next to Geal Charn, just a bit lower down, quite a lot lower down actually. Almost looks like an afterthought of Geal Charn, but it's quite a nice peak in its own right. And if that's not doable because of the snow, well, we won't know until we get further up. Then the other option is this one, Binnen Kuus, which I'm actually quite tempted to do anyway because I haven't been up there before, and I've been at the other two. But I'm coming to the point in a bit where I need to decide which one I'm doing. My main concern, I suppose, was that this track in, if that had been a snowy trudge with deep snow, then that would have sapped a lot of energy just getting to here. So that was my main concern about heading up there, was if it was too much of a trudge, then I'd just go up Binnen Kuus. But I think, given it's been quite a nice walk in actually, and not too bad underfoot, I'll just carry on up. You can actually see the path snaking its way up, and it looks, because I can still see the path, which is a good sign. If I couldn't see it, then it might mean it's going to be quite hard going, but so I can get all the way up to the top where it flattens out, and then you sort of strike out this way towards Craig Petrie, and Geal Charn is beyond. So get as far as the top, see what the snow's like, and then make a decision between which one to go for. But currently making good progress, but sun, hot, strong sun cream. So it's not even 9 o'clock, but there's quite a lot of warmth in that already. So these days like this, the sunny days, have been few and far between this winter. I think it's only the second day that my days off have coincided with this sort of weather. When you can actually get out onto the hills in the sunshine after some snow, rather than it all blowing around in blizzards, which is what it's been doing for the longest while. Winter, of course, finally arrived halfway through February. Cast your mind back to last blogs, lamenting the lack of snow and wondering where winter was. Well, it turned up 2 weeks later. Interestingly though, it's still, I mean, certainly from monitoring on my weather station, it was still the joint warmest winter I've recorded in Fife, joint with last year, and taking the whole of the meteorological winter, which is December, January and February, I had, where I stay in Fife up in the Loyman Hills, just 7 days when an air frost was recorded, so when the temperature reaches 0 or below. 7 in 3 months. And that's actually worse than it sounds, actually, because 7 days of air frost essentially means it could be 1 minute before midnight on one day and then 1 minute after midnight the next. That counts as 2 days because it's been recorded on 2 consecutive days. So 7 air frosts, it's really only 3 or 4, you know, sort of nights, I suppose. Normally, where I stay, you'd expect to get between 20 and 40 across the whole winter. So this winter has been really peculiar. But February overall, back home, it ends up being quite snowy. Quite an unusually snowy February, but winter as a whole has been very strange. So this is very welcome, actually getting out in something approaching winter. I did hear, just now actually, there was it sounded like, you know, when you're quite near a quarry and they're blowing it up or something, you get that rumble, really pronounced rumble. I just heard a big rumble, which can only be an avalanche. Can't see anything that's come down, but I don't know, I definitely heard something whoosh and a very ominous rumble. Certainly everything's very unstable just now on certain faces. The avalanche hazard is considerable for this part of the world. So that restricts where you can go, I suppose. I know you have to be quite careful and clever about the routes you take. Because we've had mostly southwesterly winds for a change. Recent winters when we've had snow, like 2 years ago with the beast from the east, we got lots of snow, but it all came on east winds. So it all ended up on west-facing slopes. And then those were the first to melt as you go into summer. And there was nothing left, and there were, you know, very few snow patches, or no snow patches that year, I can't remember. Not many. This year, so much snow is coming from the usual normal direction, the south, west, that all these east, and well, between north and south, I suppose, those whole other aspects, especially anything that's got anything of an east facing slope is really, really loaded, and you can see it. You can see this is looking west-ish, so you can see how loaded, how smooth all these slopes are. Big cornices forming on some of these hills. Certainly up here, there's a lot of snow on these aspects. Well, this is usually, I mean, it's a stunning feature. I forget what it's called. Is it Loch Laggan or something like that? Not sure. But it cuts all the way through. There's two lochs that cut all the way through. And it's a bit of a wind tunnel today, but often there's a nice big beach here. And it's really nice. It's a really nice place to sit. Big sandy beach. I was here 3 or 4 years ago. I cycled in along this track, and you can cycle on the edge of the loch. There's a good track that goes all the way down. That's down to the Ardverichy estate, and then cut up that cleft on the right. You can see it's just in the sun over there, and went up Geal Charn that way. Not on the bike. I took the bike as far as there and then walked up. Really nice approach. Stupid way to go up today, because that will take you up the west, sorry, up the north and east faces, which are absolutely loaded with snow. But as you can see, it's a lovely spot. And it really is. Like I say, the point of coming up these hills today is precisely because of the avalanche risk, because they're ones that you can approach up their west slopes. And Wintry, which is this one here, see there's a lot less snow on here. I mean, it's quite steep crags though anyway, but the wind's coming that direction and carrying all the snow further over onto the east slope, so this should be a better approach, a safer approach. So this path now climbs fairly steadily up to a Laggan, and if you go all the way through it, past that, you end up all the way over at Ben Alder. It's a way of, the first time I ever climbed Ben Alder was from here, was from the Laggan road. A monstrously long day, walking through here and then coming out and doing, is it Ben Voyle and Ben Alder, and then walking back out this way. I think it was 11 hours or something. Well, I've picked up someone's footprints, but I think I'm trying to sort of walk in them to save myself some effort, but it's starting to get a bit crunchier, and I think the snowshoes are kind of useful now actually. I think it's a good time. Partly because it's one thing less to carry on my back, but also it will make it easier. Yeah, that's definitely much easier. Now in this sort of snow, I mean they're not always the most useful things, but in this sort of spring snow where it consolidates overnight, refreezes, and it's fairly firm, but not quite firm enough to actually stop your foot from sinking a wee bit. They're great, they're really good. Well, snow is getting more difficult even with the snowshoes on, so this might be crunch time in terms of deciding which hill to do. That's Craig Petrie over there, and that's Geal Charn. After so much murk and greyness this winter, this is, I can't tell you, it just feels amazing. When I had the only other snowy walk I've had since, I think I said in the last one, there was the Ben Vorlich one in November, then I was up Ben Clwch in the Ochils in December, and then last month when we had a bit of snow at home, there was that's the sunniest day you've ever seen, sort of in Fife. Snow was down. That's the only other time my days off have coincided with a sunny day, sunny snowy day this winter. So to get out, I said to my boss afterwards when I came into work, you know, she goes, "Did you enjoy your snowy walk?" I was like, yes. I mean, I really needed it. I needed, you know, I think we all need sun. We all need that. But to get out in snow and trudge, you know, and just get your head down and trudge through snow and hear that rhythm and that noise and have the sun lighting up the landscape like this, really need it, and I've really missed it this winter. So, you know, there's been too few days like this, but so to be out here now, it's just wonderful. So nice to be out. It's alpine almost. It's wonderful. The ground underneath is sort of, it's alternated between being difficult and being actually not too bad, so it's going to be, oh, it's so tantalisingly close. It's a really nice hill actually. I mean, it's just like a lump, but it's got impressive corries on the other side, which will be well loaded just now, but it's got the most massive, beautiful cairn at the top. One of the nicest cairns on any Scottish hill. And the Craig Petrie is considerably lower. That's, like I say, it's almost like an afterthought, but it's a nice little hill in its own right. But they both have amazing views, so either way it's a winner, I suspect, but it's 10:30. So I've got all day, and the weather doesn't look like turning just yet, so at the moment I'm happy to trudge. So happy. Just the sound of trudge. And now that I've lost the path for the most part, it's quite nice to be just walking across an open snowfield, picking your own way. It's lovely. It occurs to me that practically all I do in a lot of these blogs is just say how things are wonderful, lovely, awesome, a joy. I get this, sometimes I feel like I just repeat myself over and over again, but just with a different backdrop. I don't know if that's the way it comes across. I think, oh, he's going to be up another hill just blethering on about how wonderful it is. Because it is. That's what we all love, I suppose, doing this. Somebody else over there coming down. Get a sense of how big this place is. Well, as you probably worked out, I'm going for plan A for Geal Charn, which is just up there. It's probably a lot further than it looks. It's certainly higher than Craig Petrie over there, so we've got to get about at least another 100 or so metres higher than that. So that's deceptive up there. Is this not stupendous? But look at the sense of space here. How cool is that? Actually, why rush? Seeing as I've been handed this lovely perch, something to eat, maybe some coffee, some cake, and a view. Oh, a view of all views. I'm going to talk about it now just in case. You can never take it for granted that the weather's going to stay as it is, but way over there is the grey corries and Ben Nevis just peeping over the top over there. Oh, that's wonderful, isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't want to walk over it necessarily because it's so loaded to see the size of those cornices, but it's quite a sight seeing it in these conditions. And with the sun being as warm as it is now, being as strong as it is in March, there's a lot of give in these places. Not particularly safe. All right on this side though. See the difference here? You can actually see the grass and the rocks sticking through. This is actually, because this is on the ridge, on the west facing slope, the snow just gets blown off in southwesterly winds. And it's all on the other side of the hill. I keep wanting to hang around and sort of stare at it, but you can see all this cloud coming in, and that's where the weather's coming in from. So I've been in this situation before where you think, oh, I've got plenty of time, and it looks like it just hangs there for ages, and then all of a sudden it's just like someone pulls out a stopper in a dam, it just whoosh, it comes over and washes over the hill. So I'll keep pushing on for the moment and not hang around too much. This is levelling off now. That was the steepest bit really of this hill. You see it's now levelling off. It should be more like a plateau now. It's about another 700-800 metres I think to the summit from here. It's still quite a way. Just as we crest the top, the summit cairn is over there. Now it's teasing in that it looks very close, but it really isn't, because that's massive. So I'm not going to get too excited. Much as I like, and I said before about the joy of being in a walk and having the sun rise and the sun set in the same walk, it's getting more difficult to do that now, but having these long days to play with, being able to actually get further, it's nice. I mean, if it was December or January, I can't see myself trying to get all the way up to Geal Charn and back, not unless I was sort of quite willing to walk quite a lot of it with a head torch. Great picture maybe, but that's the thing, that's the joy of getting snow later on. I mean, we're all very pleased it's come. It was, you know, it felt like it wasn't going to, stuck in these patterns. But I mean, this bodes really well for snow patches this summer, because as I was saying earlier, it's all been coming from the correct direction. All southwesterlies dumping snow in the corries, in the east-facing corries and the north-facing corries, barring some extraordinarily mild, rainy spring, which, who knows, everything's upside down these days. It should be a better year for snow patches than it has the last few years, you'd have to think. So fingers crossed that we have some long line snow this year. And yet, you know, the weirdness of December, January and half of February still stands. Still a bit of a worry in the long run. I've been chatting to a few people, similar sort of people like getting out into the hills, and there's a tendency, I suppose, to forgive and forget, but mostly forget the dearth of snow for the 10 weeks of the 12 weeks in the winter months. And sort of now the snow's come, you think, well, everything's all right. It's here, it just came late. But I don't, you know, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't change the fact that what preceded this bout of snow was very, very strange. You see things like what they're reporting in Scandinavia of not having any lying snow in Helsinki this winter. Was it in January, February? I don't know. Until recently they've had no lying snow, and Moscow having its first winter where they've had an above 0 degrees average temperature, which is the first time that's ever happened in their records, which stretch back to the mid-19th century. Things are changing. For now though, it's not to say you forget what might be happening, but when you do get something more akin to the conditions that you would expect, get out and enjoy them. And it does certainly look the part today, and I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking that everything's fine. It certainly looks amazing, certainly looks fine. Anyway, here we are approaching the summit of Geal Charn. A nicely rhymed up summit cairn. This is Craigmeggy, over here, the Craigmeggy Massif, which if you've never gone walking over that, I mean, it's a stunning place. You head in through Corrie Ardere over there, which is, it's all owned by SNH now, and this is all regenerating the woodland in there. Years of deer management, letting all the birch and aspen and stuff come back, and you can see it all. You can see it creeping. I hope you can see it's so bright. It's always the problem when I film on bright days in snow. I can never tell whether you can see what's there, but hopefully in the middle of this picture is the walk-in up the glen. You can see all the black dots, all the trees which are sort of slowly working their way up the glen and working their way up the hillside as well. It's a really intriguing part of the country there, because when you get avalanches, which does happen, and happened a few years back, it actually is now sweeping through. Oh, it is now sweeping through all these trees. So the gash of blue down there, that's Loch Laggan, and that over there is the Mona Lea. All that white over there. This is looking east, all the way over to the higher cairngorms, which are way over there in the distance. And again, I can't tell whether you can see that. It should be slap bang in the middle of the picture, but it's quite a sight. So much snow over there. Looking over that way is overlooking to Dromocta, and that way, and coming round the side, that's Loch Ericht over there. That loch down there. So that means that coming round here, looking over to Ben Alder, which is the big massif over there. I just can't get over how loaded these hills are. These are all those eastern aspects that I was saying about, how all the snow's coming from that direction, coming this direction. So it all gets carried over the hill and dumped on these eastern aspects. And the east, of course, you can see it all in shadow this time of day when the sun's at its strongest, which is why that's the direction you want for longevity of snow patches going into the summer. You want those southwesterly winds bringing it all in, because it's all these eastern corries that stay in shade for much of the day, even when the sun's high like it is now. That, of course, is why the corries are there in the first place, because it's in the dark, shady, cold places that glaciers form and ice forms. So that's, you know, that's why all the corries are north facing, east facing generally. Sorry, I'm just wittering now. But it is just the most glorious day. Sadly, like I say, this weather's coming in, and that's the end of it again. So tomorrow, more wind, more rain. It's going to get milder, so I suppose a lot of this is going to go. But we're just hoping that this sort of cooler climate we're in just now in March, that we seem to have, this pattern we seem to have locked ourselves into, I'm hoping there's high pressure's about to move in, just hoping it's not going to shunt the cold air away too much, but it does look like the jet stream's moving north to allow this high pressure to build, so it looks like it will get milder and a bit wetter, but hopefully it'll stay cool and we get to enjoy a few more late falls of snow like this, because this is heaven. So, while we still have some sun and some warmth, it's definitely time to have some coffee and cake. Let's find somewhere that's sunny and out the wind. It's often the way, isn't it? When you get to the top of a hill, the sunny side is also the windiest side often, it seems. Oh well. Right. I'm spoilt for choice. I was thinking, where do I want to sit? What do I want to look at? What view do I want? I mean, any direction. It's astonishing. As long as it's out the wind. You know, it's amazing how quickly the weather changes. Just then, you could hear the wind picking up over there, and then there's been spindrift going along here, spilling over the side, and there are clouds of it. That's the first time I've seen that today, because it's been quite still. So just in the space, I've been here 10 minutes, in the space of sitting here, I can hear it. There was no noise like that behind. I can hear the wind behind me. And I can hear I can hear snow being carried, that sound of spindrift running against dry snow. So yeah, it's changing. You can see behind me how it's changing. As soon as this cloud has got here, above me, level with me, everything's, you can feel it. It's intriguing how quickly it happens. So yeah, I've just had something to eat and then I'm going to have some coffee and then move on. Cheers. It's definitely, I know I've been sitting around for a little bit, but it's definitely got colder. The wind's picked up. It's really interesting. It feels completely different. The sun's going in a bit, but the wind is, there was a breeze when I came up here, just 15 minutes ago. And now that's a very constant, cold wind. So it feels very nice to have the jacket on. Oof. Oof. It's quite nice. I've managed to come up most of this hill today just in a fleece for the most part. And that's really nice. But there's something very satisfying about getting your winter jacket on again, even on a fairly warm, benign day. It's quite reassuring, I think. It's part of me, actually, as soon as it starts turning cold, I quite like doing myself up against the elements. I like to get my hat on. It doesn't feel right not having my hat on in the hills in winter when there's snow around. Anyway, I feel very reluctant to go, but go we must. It was nice going uphill, just for the sake of being out in snowshoes and being out in the snow, in the sunshine, but to be coming downhill with that noise, that wonderful noise, it's just absolute heaven. If you could bottle what I'm feeling right now, you make a fortune. It's just so nice. It's always nice going downhill, isn't it? But when there's this much whiteness, you don't get optimum conditions very often, to be fair, for this sort of thing, for snowshoeing. But when you do, when everything comes together and you just get the right sort of snow, the right angle, the right amount of give underfoot, it's like you're floating on air. You can feel them floating on air. It's wonderful, and it has its own appeal as an activity in itself. It's not like some middle ground, a stepping stone up to skiing necessarily. I like the motion of the trudging motion and feeling that lightness below my feet, and it is almost like you can almost feel yourself floating on air. It's very different to skiing. No, it's not to say one's better than the other, it's just different, but I like the way it feels, and I like the pace, and I like the time it takes, and it's just a bit slower. Oh, just listen to that. It's the best noise in the world. Heaven, I'm in heaven. Oh yeah. Right. We're far enough down now out the wind that it's got a bit hot again. Time to change. That's better. Sun, please. Haven't seen the hills loaded like this for quite a while. You know, when you get, I mean, usually that'd be quite a craggy face, but when it gets completely smoothed out, oh, it's amazing, beautiful. But I've never seen, haven't really seen as much snow as there was in, was it 2013-14 when we had all those storms? I remember going up the grey corries when the storms finally abated in, was it February, March time, and I've never seen Scottish hills looking like that. Just snowy arêtes going to a point, proper alpine stuff, and everything just completely smooth, you know, like that is. That's the dream really, isn't it? Having it completely smooth. Of course, this is the problem is with the avalanches, but that's what you need. You do need to get these mild spells to come in so that maybe you get everything just melts just a little bit, a bit of a thaw, a bit of a refreeze, everything consolidates and packs down, the snowpack becomes more stable. It's a good thing. You want sort of lengthy periods of cold interspersed with milder blips just to pack it all down, rather than lots of long mild spells and then cold blips where it snows loads like it has been doing and then it all goes. But this has been around for a few weeks now. Stopping some water, some very cold water no doubt. Taste of nothing. Nothing at all. It tastes amazing for it. I've still got a way to go, but I'll make that do for the vlog, I think. Most of the way down. Such an amazing day. One update I needed to give though, because I did mention it in the Ben Vorlich vlog, was that I stepped down as President of Ramblers Scotland last weekend at Scottish Council in North Berwick, and I did manage to get around to all 54 of the groups with, I think it was 16 days to spare in the end. I did my 53rd group back in January, and then I had almost 6-7 weeks to sort of knock off the last group, which was Bute, our only island group. And I had this romantic idea of saving Bute till last because of the island group, and sort of say I like the idea of having a ferry to finish and sort of waving goodbye to the island and that's it, job done. But with all those storms, weekend after weekend after weekend, it went down to the wire. I was thinking I wasn't going to finish it because and then it came to the fact that I had to nip over and back in the same day. I'd originally planned to stay there a few days, but if I stayed there longer, there's a chance I wouldn't have been able to get back because another storm was coming in. So it was 3 weekends I tried, and I managed to do it on the last weekend with a couple of weeks to spare before I finished up and stood down. So I'm really chuffed. I got around everybody, and that's worth drinking to. It's actually been, those 3 years have been such a privilege to represent 6,500 people, and to meet them and walk with them. And I just hope that through what I've been doing and trying to raise the profile and blogging and tweeting about the Ramblers, hopefully people have got a different idea of who we are, where we go, what we do, and realise that we're not all just bobble hats and folk who are restricted by being a certain age, and there's actually a lot more variety in where we go than people give us credit for. So hopefully that's been the case. So if we learned anything new about the Ramblers in the last 3 years, then I consider it a job well done. Right, last drink and down.